Hello, guys. Welcome to the show. Today is Sunday, June 3rd, and here's what's going on. It's the trade war might be back on with China, and this time there might not be as quick a resolve to it. It might escalate. It could escalate rather rapidly. Now, what else is going on is Deutsche Bank. So let's first take a look at China. Let's start up the not charts, but let's start up and see what we got here. Uh, China warns the United States sanctions will void the trade talks. So what ended this situation last time was trade talks. They came together at the table and they were talking about trade, and the situation cooled down rather rapidly. Here's a person working in a sweatshop in China. They used to call them sweatshops because they used to get rather hot. Industrial places, they're still not very nice places to work. Um, and a lot of places in China and stuff, they're hot in the summer and dusty. And these fabric mills are well known for being ruinous to people's lungs. That's why she's probably wearing the mask there. It says China has warned that all trade talks between Beijing and Washington will be void if the United States sets up trade sanctions. Well, guess what? I seen Donald Trump's tweets today, and I don't think a trade sanction is unavoidable at this point. Talks between Vice Premier Liu He and U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross. China said it was ready to boost imports from many countries. Mr. Ross, China's visit comes days after Washington threatened to impose extra tariffs on $50 billion worth of Chinese goods. Now, from what I understand, this extra tariff is going to be a 25% across-the-board tariff on $50 billion worth of Chinese goods. I thought they were over and done with this stuff, but no, they're coming at it hard, and the Chinese are getting ready to get their backs up against the wall at this point. Meanwhile, the G7 nations have hit out at the United States over its new steel and aluminum import tariffs. This could escalate the trade war with the G7 nations as well against the United States. French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire warned a trade war could begin in a few days. Now, this is a different trade war, not the war against China. So we got trade wars that are getting ready to break out. And the question is the United States-China trade war back on? And the answer, I would say, is yes, we're facing an imminent trade war, and it could escalate very quickly. It started to escalate there, and of course, they settled the whole thing down. Now it's heating back up again. Now, here's a picture of Mr. Ross and Mr. Liu, and they're meeting in a part of efforts to reduce the bilateral trade deficit. It looks to me like this Mr. Liu, both of them look like they're trying to get the better of the other guy. If the United States introduces trade sanctions, including tariffs, all the economic and trade achievements negotiated by the two parties will be void. Now we're going to discuss what is the United States trying to do. The Beijing talks were aimed at reducing the bilateral trade deficit. The United States currently buys nearly 4 times as much from China as it sells to them. So basically what they're saying there is the United States is China's best customer. That's a simpler way of saying that. White House statement last week, which took aim at years of unfair trade practices, warned that the United States would pursue 25% tariffs on $50 billion worth of Chinese imports. The tone of the statement suggests that China's concessions at last month's talks in Washington were not enough for the Trump administration. Analysts say that the statement could have been designed as a bargaining tactic aimed at increasing pressure on China ahead of Sunday's meeting, amid criticism at home that Mr. Trump is going soft on China. Now, what about the G7? At a heated meeting in the Canadian ski resort of Whistler, the EU and Canada threatened to retaliate against tariffs of up to 25% on steel and 10% on aluminum. whose implementation Mr. Rost announced on Thursday. But U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, but he's a Munchkin to me. I like to say his name is Munchkin. Denied that the United States has abandoned leadership in the global economy and said that he had passed on other countries' strong feelings to Mr. Trump. Okay, so looks like the trade deals are pretty much back on again. Now we're going to talk about Deutsche Bank. No, I shouldn't say trade deals. I meant trade wars are back on again. Now we're going to talk about Deutsche Bank. Now, here's a picture of what's been going on with Deutsche Bank. We see a steady decline. Now, this is a 1-month chart. And we see about a month ago, they were 11.64 euros, which is not real high. But they've been dropping all month. All month long, they've been dropping down to 10, 10, 10, 10. Finally, they broke through 10 into the 9s. And then they made a rather steep fall all the way down to 9.16 at their lowest. Now they've backed up to 9.41. But I'll tell you what, some of these guys have come in and they've snatched them up and they've been buying right here in the last day or so. The last day that was open, I think it was Friday. They've been buying and they brought it up from 9.16 to 9.41. Now, this is basically, these are pump and dump guys. They're buying this stuff. They're looking to make a profit. And why they're doing it is because if we go back, I think we're going to have to take a look at the 5-year chart to see it. We saw Deutsche Bank go down to 9.85 there, then a 9.85. And we had the same exact same thing happen. A bunch of buyers came in. And they drove it all the way up to a peak of, what, 1742 on May 31st, 2018. So those guys that bought in at 9.85 euro, they got paid off 1742 euro, you know. But it's been declining ever since. Now, these guys that are buying in right now that drove it up from 9.16 to 9.41, they're thinking that they're going to do exactly the same thing. That they're going to make a lot of money by buying into Deutsche Bank. I would say stay clear from Deutsche Bank because right now I think Deutsche Bank's on their way down, and I think they're on their way down and out. I don't think that they're going to get a bailout. I think what's going to happen is at a certain point that, now see, what happened with the banks, the smaller banks in Italy, is they did a secret behind. They didn't ask anybody. They just went in and they did it. They bailed them out with money from, I think it was 20 billion euros from the Italian government. They bailed the banks out and they didn't even ask. Well, they put laws in place that they're not allowed to do that. They broke their own laws. They put laws in place that they have to do what's called a bail-in. So they snuck it through because it's only like 20 billion. So they were able to sneak it through, right? And they were able to get it done in Italy. But this is something that they're not going to be able to sneak through for Deutsche Bank. They're not going to be able to slide it under the table and get it done without anybody knowing. You know, it's not going to be a $20 billion bailout for Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank's too big and the world can see it. So they can't sneak it, you know, this time, not with Deutsche Bank. So they're going to have to try to follow their own rules with Deutsche Bank, and their own rules require that Deutsche Bank do a bail-in, which is different than a bailout. And what it basically means is it means that they're going to have to try to use the creditors' money. Well, they already did sort of a bail-in when they diluted the bank shares. Not too long ago either. They diluted the bank shares. I think it was this little bump right here. It went down to 13.34, and then I think they diluted the bank shares, and it brought the stock price back up to like 16.32, and then we saw this fall off. Well, they're probably going to have to do that same sort of thing, try that same sort of thing again, because they're going to be forced into trying to find money somehow, so they're going to have to eat themselves. Basically, what a bail-in means is the bank has to eat itself. The snake has to eat its own tail. And this never works, because when they start attacking the creditors' money, the creditors start coming in trying to get their money out of there as fast as they can. And so what this is going to lead to, this is going to lead to a crash in Deutsche Bank. If they try that, if they even try it, they're going to find out that this does not work. It's going to lead to a crash in Deutsche Bank. And ultimately what we're going to see in the end is Deutsche Bank start to fold up. And then when Deutsche Bank starts to fold up, then we could possibly see a bailout, of Deutsche Bank. But it's going to be a calamitous situation at that point. It's going to be a response then at that point in desperation. That's the only way I think we're gonna see a bailout. But by that time, what'll Deutsche Bank be worth? They'll have to come in and try to resolve the situation by at some point, they're going to have to probably do something, because Deutsche Bank's got such a big derivatives book. Ultimately, though, the system might be in chaos by the time they actually step in. This is what we're in, basically. What I'm trying to say is we're in uncharted territories, and look out, guys, because this could get really messy in the next few months with Deutsche Bank. And it could have a profound effect upon the entire world's economy. So we got to really keep an eye on Deutsche Bank, and believe me, I am. I'm waiting with bated breath to see what happens on Monday morning, and Tuesday and Wednesday and so on during this week. I'll tell you what I think is going to happen. I think this little rally in Deutsche Bank is going to continue. Okay, so let's go to the 5-day. We can see this little rally. I think this little rally could actually continue, and they could drive it back up over 10. But they're fools, because it's going to ultimately, that will start to fall again. It'll start to fall again. And they're going to get caught with their pants down in this one. They're thinking they're going to make a big profit. I don't think so. Listen, thank you guys for listening to the show. And we'll catch you on the next episode tomorrow morning with a market report. Bye-bye for now. Or well, I'll have to check and see if tomorrow's a holiday. It's probably not. It'll probably be a market report tomorrow, but if it is a holiday, it'll be on Tuesday. Bye-bye, guys.